Alright, welcome everyone to another Trax VR lap guide. My name's Emerson. I'll be walking you through our Youth League race track that we're using this upcoming Wednesday in round 4 of the Spring 2024 Youth League. A bit of a change of plans. The plan was originally to run the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. However, a little bit of testing revealed that the track limits were far too punishing on that track, and I don't think it would have gone over so well. So, in a last-minute decision, we switched it over. We're keeping the country the same. We're still in Australia, but we're instead at the Melbourne Grand Prix circuit, home of the Australian Grand Prix. Anyways, pit lane speed limit here is 80 kilometers an hour. You're going to stay within that all the way up until the pit exit line, which is right here. This is the point where you can disengage your pit limiter. The pit exit blend line, it starts yellow here, and you can stay behind, or you're supposed to stay behind the yellow line up until this point where it changes to white. And I still want you guys to stay behind this white line all the way until it ends, which is basically right at turn 1. However, I'm going to cross it here just to give you an example of the racing line going into turn 1. The brake marker signs on this track are much smaller than usual, and they're red rather than white, red with black numbers. Many of the corners you can brake at or in the near proximity to the 100 sign. This particular corner, I would probably brake, if I'm playing it safe, right underneath this digital flag station, but maybe right between that sign and the 100 sign might be a little bit better, especially as the track starts to rubber in. You're going to be coming in at full speed all the way up in 6th gear, downshift down to 3rd gear if you're in manual. When you're at the correct speed, if you're in automatic, you'll be down to 3rd gear. This curb here, the track dips down, you'll notice, right at the apex. Good to get right down to that low point. Use that shape of the track to help pull you through the corner. Curb is somewhat forgiving on the inside on the right. When you come to the left, you can actually use this green apron quite a bit. Very forgiving, very flat. Don't cut it too much, of course. You don't want to get a track limit warning. On the way out, look for the DRS sign. On the right-hand side, you can basically aim for that. Get all the way out to the curb here. If you do get right out onto this apron on the outside, it is very likely you'll end up with a track limits violation, so be wary of that. Full speed down the straightaway, make your way to the left-hand side because you have a right-hand corner coming up. My pit limiter is still on, I realize. This one here, again, braking right at that 100 sign, maybe just before if you're not certain. It's basically a tight 90-degree corner. The curb is very flat on the inside. You're going to get back to the outside, lots of paved runoff area, but bring yourself right back to the right. I usually aim for this digital sign station to have my turn-in point for the next corner. So you want to be all the way to the right before that point, coming across, then you're getting into some high-speed sections here now. You're probably going to get to a pretty high speed through this section. And then this is one of the points where you're going to brake after the 100 sign. Here's the 100 sign here. I would probably brake halfway between there and the yellow DHL signs on the left, down to about 3rd gear if you're playing it safe. As the track gets rubbered in, I would not be surprised to see you guys taking this corner in 4th gear. Basically, once you're in that corner, I aim for that palm tree that's straight ahead of me there. I'm pointing with my hands. Obviously, you can't see it. I always forget about that part of VR. Basically aim straight for it. You can get a couple tires on that curb there. Don't do too much because it quickly turns to grass, and that's going to upset the balance of your car. And through this section here, basically flat out. Good slipstreaming opportunities through here. Just try to use as minimum amount of steering input as possible to keep that resistance off the front tires to get the highest top speed you can. Get to the inside on this left-hand corner to shorten the distance. When you go underneath this pedestrian bridge where the Lenovo signs are, at that point you can start easing yourself back out to the right-hand side to set yourself up for the fast left-hander. You're going to be in 6th gear coming into here, braking a little bit just before that 50 sign. I just passed it there. I would downshift to, for sure, 5th. But you really want to prioritize the right-hand corner coming up afterwards. You can get on top of that curb there. Watch out for the bollard on the inside. But yeah, like I said, you want to prioritize the right-hand corner coming up afterwards. When I was doing my practice laps here, I sometimes found 4th gear provided a better exit out of the following corner than 5th gear. But like I said, with a corner earlier, as the track starts to rubber in, I would not be surprised to see you guys finding 5th gear to be for sure the better option. Anyways, nice and fast to the left-hand corner. Getting nice late apex on this one here. This one will for sure be 4th gear. The right at the end of this curve is kind of where your corner exit would want to be. The track also starts to widen there, so you can kind of make use of that a little bit. You are coming out of a fairly fast corner, so you're going to want a lot of track width on the way out. Straighten this line out as much as possible. Aim to go kind of underneath the middle DHL sign. That's going to point you right at those braking markers coming up to the next corner. Braking here again. This corner here, actually, very critical trail braking points. When I do my flying lap, watch my braking. I'm going to be trail braking a lot going into this corner. Braking just before 100. The track gets a little bit wider here, so make use of that extra track width. You're going to come all the way out to your turn-in point, probably right at the start of this DHL sign. Oh, probably before that even. You want to be nice and parallel with the peak of this. Get a ever so slightly bit more on the late apex end of things, making as wide a radius through that corner as possible. Right out to the curbing here. Another right-hand corner coming up. The brake markers for this one are actually on the right-hand side, a little ways back there, but at the speed you're going to be coming out of that corner at, you're probably not going to see them very much. You'll be out here to the left coming through that corner. Bring your car back to the right. I would brake right between the 100 and the 50 board. Set yourself up for the final tight corner of the track. Very similar. Make as wide of a radius as possible. All the way up to the curb. Back to the left to set you up for the final corner. This is one where you really want to get a late apex. You don't want to be apexing. You'll find yourself, at least I found myself, very prone to apexing too early before this little white line here. That is far too early. If you're apexing here, you're going to end up in that that green wall right after the Lenovo signs here. You want to be apexing much later, right about here, so you get as straight of an exit out, get a nice high speed down the front straightaway. We're going to do a flying lap here now. Might be a little bit compromised because I started the lap from a standstill on the final corner. But braking right after that brake marker sign down to 3rd gear. Get that dip on the inside using the apron on the 2nd corner. Oops, a little bit too much of that apron. There's that track limits I warned you about. So it's not going to count. So we're going to do another lap. Alright, starting another flying lap here. Full throttle down the straightaway after a late apex out of the final corner. Watching for the 100-meter sign, braking right before it or right after the digital sign marker there. Down to 3rd gear. Use the dip in the road on the right. Setting yourself up for using a little bit of the apron on the left. Out to the curbing on the right. Back to the left to set yourself up for the next 90-degree right-hand corner. Braking just before the 100-meter board. You're going to use as much track width as possible through this section. Going in a little bit gingerly here, a little bit cautious. You're using the full track width to widen the radius of these corners as much as possible. Nice and fast here. A small lift will help you with turn in there if you need to. Braking right after the 100-meter board down to 3rd gear. That was 2nd gear. Ignore what I'm doing. Do 3rd gear. 3rd gear is better. Then flat out through this section, using as little steering input as possible, so you're not scrubbing those front tires, sacrificing your top speed. When you see the Lenovo sign coming up, you're going to go underneath it and then start making your way to the right-hand side, braking right after the 100-meter board. down to 5th, maybe 4th to prioritize your exit out of the next right-hand corner. A little bit of throttle modulation goes a long ways to that right-hander. Get back to the right underneath the middle of the DHL sign, aiming for left-hand side, braking the 100-meter board, trail braking off, and easing back into the throttle. Same thing on this next corner coming up here, braking a little bit, trail braking off, ease into the throttle, bring it back to the right-hand side, braking between the 100-meter board and the 50 board, widening the radius as much as possible, setting yourself up for a good clean exit out of the final corner. Nice late apex, use as much track width on the exit again as usual, and full throttle down the straightaway, and coming across the line a little slower than my best. 147 is typically what I'm getting. 148 was that. I'm imagining once the track rubber's in during a race, you guys will very likely be getting into the 145s even. It's just, lots of high-speed corners in this track. We're going to do an in-lap here, and I'll show you the pit entry, and that will wrap up our lap guide. Alright, coming up to the final corner here, we're going to come into the pits this time, braking at the same point. But when you come out wide of this corner, you're going to stay wide, stay to the right. Can't quite go flat out into the pit entry here. You can accelerate down this pit lane, but get on the brakes underneath that first Heineken sign, get your pit limiter on down to 80k, and you should be safe into this pit lane without speeding. I really want you guys to focus on getting down to that speed before crossing the line and not relying on your pit limiter to slow you down. Your pit limiter is not going to slow you down, only your brakes will slow you down in time for that. I pointed out that Heineken sign, the second last one that you see on the way into the pits. That one is the last one before the actual timing line going into the pits. So make sure you're braking underneath that one so you get slowed down in time. We did run into a couple pit lane speeding penalties over the last couple races, so really focus on your pit entries. I'd prefer to not to dish out penalties for people speeding the pit lane, and I suppose that's about all I have to cover for this week's lap guide. Some of the older F1 games will probably have the older layout. There was a couple minor changes to some of the corners, smoothing out some of the corners, making an overall faster track. So if you are practicing it in an older F1 title, just keep that in mind that some of the corner profiles might be a little bit different. With that being said, have a good day, and we will see you Wednesday for Youth League Round 4. See you next time.